Sometimes life feels so natural that we don't even notice the impact of our words and actions. We might unknowingly curse our future instead of blessing it. Every word we say carries power, and it's essential to be mindful because what we speak can shape what comes into our lives. When people say, "I am," what follows that phrase can define your life. It's like an invitation to what you want to experience. Often, we underestimate God's plan for us, but His vision for our life is far bigger than what we can imagine. Looking back, I never could have dreamed that I would be in situations like this. Speaking to people I never imagined I would meet, or being in places that once seemed so far away. Like arenas where I used to watch basketball games. Life unfolds in ways we often can't foresee. Joel Osteen's story is one of remarkable growth and controversy. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he took $4.4 million in loans intended for small businesses while living in a $10.5 million mansion. His church spends only a small percentage, about 1%, on charity. He teaches that God wants everyone to be wealthy, yet his speaking events often cost $15 per ticket. His television ministry reaches millions, but rarely focuses on traditional topics like sin or Jesus. Instead, he emphasizes living a blessed life, being happy, and cultivating good relationships. When critics accused him of being fake, he responded by buying a $3 million home. Despite declining attendance and increasing criticism, his public persona remains polished. But there are visible cracks beneath the surface. Joel Osteen was born on March 5, 1963, in Houston, Texas, as one of 6 children. His family life revolved around church, faith, and family. His father, John Osteen, had left the Southern Baptist tradition and started a new ministry. A pivotal moment came in 1958 when Joel's sister Lisa was born with severe disabilities. This deeply affected the family and led them to embrace charismatic Christianity and faith healing. A year later, in 1959, John and his wife Dodie founded Lakewood Church in a small, run-down feed store with just 234 seats. From that humble beginning, something powerful began to grow. By the late 1970s, the congregation had expanded to over 5,000 people. Joel grew up surrounded by this growth and by his siblings, who were either preaching or serving in church roles. Joel, however, preferred staying in the background, helping behind the scenes rather than being in the spotlight. In 1981, Joel graduated from Humble High School and enrolled at Oral Roberts University to study radio and television. Less than a year later, he left college, deciding he wanted to work with his father instead of earning a degree. At 19, he returned to Houston and began managing the church's television ministry, starting with a local channel and one national cable network. For 17 years, he stayed behind the camera, producing, editing, directing, and making sure every broadcast looked polished, even tracking what suits his father wore each Sunday. He wanted Lakewood to appear as professional and appealing as a television show. Despite having no formal education in theology or preaching, Joel absorbed knowledge by editing hundreds of his father's sermons, learning lessons that no classroom could teach. He consistently refused to preach, saying, "You're the preacher. I'll make you look good on TV." Everything changed in January 1999. On January 17th, Joel finally agreed to preach his first sermon. 6 days later, his father passed away from a heart attack. Joel's first sermon became the last one his father ever heard. Suddenly, he was thrust into the leadership of a church with 6,000 members, a role he didn't feel ready for. Many doubted his ability to lead, but he embraced the challenge. At that time, about 8,000 people attended Lakewood weekly. Within 5 years, attendance skyrocketed to between 25,000 and 30,000, making it the largest church in America. Joel's strategy involved doubling the budget for television airtime, choosing prime-time slots in major cities, and filling highways with billboards. His sermons were uplifting, simple, and full of hope. People resonated with his positive messages and continued to attend. As the crowds grew, the original 8,000-seat building was no longer sufficient. Joel began discussing the seemingly impossible goal of preaching to 100,000 people every weekend. In 2003, Lakewood leased the old home of the Houston Rockets, a 16,000-seat sports arena, at a cost of $12 million for 30 years. Renovations added nearly $95 million, transforming the arena into a church with 5 floors, waterfalls, miles of carpet, classrooms, broadcast studios, and modern amenities. In 2010, the church purchased the building outright for $7.5 million. The grand opening on July 16, 2005, drew 16,000 attendees, and millions more watched on television. Lakewood's growth continued. Weekly attendance soon exceeded 40,000, and TV broadcasts reached over 10 million viewers in more than 100 countries. Joel's approach was unique. He avoided preaching about sin and judgment, focusing instead on hope, dreams, and trusting God's plan. Critics dismissed his teachings as light Christianity, but his followers appreciated the encouragement and positive energy he offered. Joel recognized the power of media early on. Within a few years, his broadcasts reached nearly every household in America, with millions tuning in weekly. By 2017, the church spent $25 million annually on media, which included an XM radio station, Night of Hope events, and stadium gatherings that drew tens of thousands of attendees. In 2004, Joel released his first book, Your Best Life Now, which sold over 500,000 copies in just 3 months. By May 2005, it had surpassed 1 million copies and remained on the New York Times bestseller list for more than 200 weeks, eventually selling over 4 million copies worldwide. The book combined faith, motivation, and hope, appealing to both believers and non-believers. Joel's style made complex ideas about faith and personal growth easy to understand, and the book set a new standard for religious publishing. He continued writing, producing over 15 books, with at least 7 becoming New York Times bestsellers. His 2005 book, Become a Better You, earned him $13 million in royalties and advances. Joel expanded his ministry into a massive business. His live events could earn $100,000 to $200,000 each. And he sold books, CDs, clothes, and gifts through the church and online. His social media presence attracted millions of followers across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, further amplifying his reach. In 2013, he launched a nationwide arena tour called Night of Hope, selling tickets around $15 each and drawing tens of thousands per event. These gatherings were energetic productions, complete with music, lights, and motivation, transforming traditional faith events into global spectacles. Joel also made strategic media appearances, including interviews with Oprah, Larry King, and appearances on shows like Good Morning America. These appearances allowed him to reach people outside the traditional Christian audience. His message focused on hope, success, and self-belief rather than rules and sin, making him more of a motivational speaker than a conventional preacher. Today, he reaches over 10 million people weekly on television and online, spreading a consistent message of positivity and persistence. Financially, the Osteen ministry operates with a $90 million annual budget and generates around $55 million a year. However, only a small portion, about 1.3% or $1.2 million, goes toward missions and outreach, leading critics to argue that the focus is more on brand building than charity. Despite this, Joel's influence and popularity continue to grow. Joel met his wife, Victoria, in a simple jewelry store in Houston in 1985 while getting a new battery for his watch. Victoria, studying psychology at the University of Houston, was helping in her family's store that day. 2 years later, on April 4, 1987, they married, Victoria brought a unique blend of faith and intellect to their partnership. With a background including a father who is a NASA engineer and a mother who is a Sunday school teacher, she became deeply involved in the church, eventually launching Lakewood's women's ministry in 2003, which now reaches thousands annually. She also became a best-selling author with her first book, Love Your Life, selling 750,000 copies on its first print run and debuting at number 2 on the New York Times bestseller list. Together, Joel and Victoria built a ministry that reaches millions, balancing public life with family. They have 2 children, Jonathan, born in 1995, and Alexandra, born in 1998. Both were raised in the spotlight of Lakewood Church, but were encouraged to find their own paths. Their story demonstrates how small, seemingly ordinary moments, like a trip to a jewelry store, can lead to extraordinary lives. Through decades of growth, challenges, and public scrutiny, the Osteens have built one of the largest and most influential churches in the world, creating a message of hope, positivity, an opportunity that continues to inspire millions. The journey of Joel and Victoria Osteen highlights how vision, determination, media savvy, and a clear, uplifting message can transform a small church into a global movement. From humble beginnings in a 234-seat feed store to leading millions worldwide, they have shown how leadership, faith, and innovation can shape not just a church but culture itself. Their story reminds us that life often unfolds in ways we cannot predict, that faith and perseverance can open doors to unimaginable opportunities, and that a single positive decision, like saying yes to a challenge or helping someone, can change the course of an entire life. Every sermon, every broadcast, every book, and every event has been carefully designed to encourage, inspire, and motivate, creating a legacy that extends far beyond the walls of Lakewood Church. Their focus on hope, encouragement, and believing in the potential of every person continues to resonate globally, demonstrating that leadership combined with faith can leave a lasting impact on millions of lives. This story of Joel and Victoria Osteen is more than just a tale of a church or a ministry. It is a lesson in the power of vision, the importance of positivity, the impact of media, and the value of partnership in building something greater than oneself. From the challenges of stepping into leadership unexpectedly to transforming arenas into places of worship, from writing best-selling books to hosting massive arena events, their journey illustrates the possibilities that arise when faith, strategy, and determination come together. While critics question their motives and finances, millions continue to find hope, inspiration, and guidance in their message. The Osteen story encourages everyone to embrace opportunity, believe in the unseen potential of life, and understand that faith combined with action can achieve results beyond imagination, proving that even the most ordinary circumstances can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Joel and Victoria's partnership has endured for nearly 4 decades, showing that shared vision and commitment can sustain both family and ministry. Their children, raised in a world of media attention and spiritual leadership, have grown with exposure to faith, responsibility, and community service. The Osteen story also illustrates the challenges of leading a megachurch in the modern era, balancing spiritual guidance with the operational demands of a global ministry. Their use of media, books, live events, and social platforms highlights the importance of adapting traditional messages to contemporary platforms to reach a diverse, global audience. Through it all, their core message remains consistent: believe, stay positive, pursue your dreams, and trust in a plan greater than your own, even with the wealth, fame, and influence that the Osteens have amassed. Their story continues to reflect human struggles, decision-making, and the impact of leadership. The transformation from a small feed store church to a worldwide movement underscores the role of vision, innovation, and determination in creating lasting impact. Joel's early years behind the camera, Victoria's transition from retail worker to ministry leader, and the development of a global outreach through television, social media, books, and live events show how persistence and creativity can reshape possibilities. Their lives demonstrate that influence is built not only through preaching, but also through strategy, media mastery, and the ability to connect with people on a personal level. The story of the Osteens also highlights the power of timing and readiness. Joel's decision to step into preaching right before his father's death illustrates how life often places people in situations before they feel prepared. Despite doubts and criticism, taking that step allowed him to develop leadership, confidence, and a unique style that resonated with millions. Victoria's gradual assumption of ministry responsibility shows how supporting roles can evolve into leadership positions that make a significant impact. Together, they have created a ministry that is multifaceted, combining worship, education, outreach, entertainment, and inspiration, illustrating that effective leadership requires adaptability, vision, and the ability to seize opportunities as they arise. In summary, Joel and Victoria Osteen's journey from humble beginnings to international influence is a testament to faith, vision, perseverance, and partnership. They turned challenges into opportunities, media into ministry, and simple beginnings into a global movement. Their story teaches the importance of optimism, careful use of words, readiness to embrace unexpected opportunities, and the transformative power of hope. Through television, books, live events, social media, personal outreach, they have inspired millions worldwide to believe in themselves, trust in a higher plan, and strive for a better life. Their lives demonstrate that ordinary moments can lead to extraordinary results, and that leadership combined with faith, innovation, and positive messaging can leave a lasting impact that resonates for generations. The story of Joel and Victoria Osteen reminds us that every small choice can lead to significant change. From the lessons learned behind the scenes in a small church, to managing media and building a global brand, to reaching millions with messages of hope and possibility, their journey highlights how vision, strategy, and faith can transform lives. It also shows that the path to success is rarely smooth, requiring resilience, creativity, and the courage to act when opportunities arise. Despite criticism and challenges, the Osteens have built a ministry and a legacy that continues to grow, demonstrating that positivity, faith, and determination are powerful tools in shaping the future. Their story continues to inspire, proving that with belief, commitment, and hard work, ordinary people can achieve extraordinary results and leave a lasting mark on the world. From Joel's first hesitant steps as a preacher to the creation of a global ministry, and from Victoria's transition from retail to leading a large women's ministry, their lives reflect the impact of determination, vision, and collaboration. Their work shows that leadership is not only about personal charisma, but also about creating systems, leveraging media, and consistently delivering a message that resonates. The Osteen story is a vivid example of how faith, strategy, and communication can combine to build something that changes lives on a global scale. They teach that believing in yourself, trusting a bigger plan, and remaining persistent can lead to achievements far beyond what one might initially imagine. Jonathan and Alexandra Osteen grew up deeply involved in their family's church, Lakewood Church, and have both carved out significant roles within it. Jonathan studied radio, television, and film at the University of Texas at Austin, graduating in 2017, but even before earning his degree, he was actively leading worship as a teenager. By 2016, both Jonathan and Alexandra were performing in front of huge crowds, such as at America's Night of Hope events, where audiences numbered around 45,000. Jonathan also began writing songs and producing music for Lakewood's young adults ministry, shaping the sound and message for a younger generation. His first sermon came in 2019 on Father's Day, marking his transition into preaching, while Alexandra focused on music, becoming the lead vocalist for Lakewood's worship band, LYA. Their songs, including hits like I've Got a Fire, reached hundreds of thousands of listeners on Spotify and other music platforms, showing the growing influence of the Osteen family in both preaching and worship. Alexandra's music has been a central part of Lakewood's identity. Her voice, full of energy and passion, became recognizable to anyone attending or watching services. The family's approach to ministry is deeply tied to the Word of Faith and prosperity gospel movements, which emphasize that if people believe strongly enough, speak positively, and trust God's plan, they can achieve health, wealth, and happiness. Joel Osteen himself has often said that God wants people to pay their bills, avoid debt, and live in health. Messages that resonated with millions of followers but drew criticism from theologians and traditional Christians who argued that it oversimplified or distorted the gospel. Critics claim it turns Christianity into a formula for personal gain, where failing to prosper is seen as a lack of faith. This approach, they argue, neglects core Christian teachings about sin, sacrifice, and reliance on grace. While his audience loved his optimistic and uplifting message, skeptics said it created what they called a cotton candy gospel. It's easy to consume, but lacking depth or true spiritual challenge. Joel Osteen's influence is amplified by the scale of Lakewood Church. Each week, over 40,000 people attend in person, and millions more watch on television. His personal wealth, estimated between $40 million and $60 million, raises further questions about the relationship between the prosperity message and the personal benefit he receives. Some critics argue that the teachings encourage people to focus on material gain rather than spiritual growth, turning religion into a business model. While Joel does not take a salary from the church, his fortune comes from book sales, speaking engagements, and media appearances. His first book, Your Best Life Now, sold over 4 million copies, and his subsequent books and events have generated tens of millions of dollars. Despite these controversies, Lakewood Church remains one of the largest congregations in the United States, illustrating the powerful draw of Osteen's optimistic and motivating message. Lakewood Church has often faced scrutiny for how it handles money. During the 2020 pandemic, it accepted a $4.4 million loan from the Federal Paycheck Protection Program, designed to support small businesses. Given that Lakewood has an annual budget of around $90 million and Joel's personal wealth, critics were outraged, arguing that the loan was unnecessary. The church later returned the funds, but the incident highlighted public concerns about transparency and accountability. Further examination of Lakewood's budget shows that only about 1.3%, roughly $1.2 million, goes to missions and outreach, while tens of millions are spent on television ministry, weekly services, events, and administrative costs. These financial priorities have fueled criticism that Lakewood is more of a media and entertainment empire than a traditional ministry, focusing more on large-scale productions and personal branding than on charitable work or addressing social needs. Osteen's preaching style is another point of debate. He rarely uses notes, memorizing his sermons and rehearsing them like an actor preparing for a performance. Each sermon lasts about 27 minutes, timed perfectly for television slots, with smooth delivery, consistent eye contact, and a polished presence that draws audiences in. However, some pastors and theologians worry that his sermons often lack direct biblical quotations, and that calls for salvation are minimal or seem like an afterthought. Compared to his father, John Osteen, who emphasized in-depth Bible teaching, Joel's style is seen as more entertainment-oriented, focusing on motivation, positivity, and personal growth rather than theological depth or spiritual challenge. Lakewood Church's handling of sacred rituals like baptism and communion has also attracted attention. For many years, critics noted that these core Christian practices were not emphasized, giving the impression that feel-good messaging and prosperity teachings took precedence. In 2025, the church held a large baptism event, but the impression persisted that these rituals were secondary to the overall entertainment-style ministry. Even so, Joel's influence continued to grow, with Lakewood reaching millions through television broadcasts, live events, and media engagement. His books, motivational messages, and televised sermons solidified his status as one of the most recognized and followed pastors globally.